All right, good Friday morning. Today's Friday, November 15th, 2024. This year Friday safety meeting. My name's Dennis Davis. I work in the safety department. We're located in the Z building, ground level, right next to the pillars. So if you ever have any questions, comments, or concerns, don't hesitate to stop by and we'll get you pointed in the right direction. We are live here in Springfield, Missouri, and we are simulcasting to our other locations in Pittston, Pennsylvania, and Salt Lake City, Utah, and we are live across the socials. So welcome to our folks that are watching Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Got a pretty decent crowd this morning. I think it's pretty decent. We want to, of course, make sure that everybody's using this time to be out running pre-holiday rush. You know, we are, you know, at least in the Davis household, are starting to get our list together and buy things for Thanksgiving.
Have you bought your turkey yet? Get it all
I've
thawed out?
Ordered it. Ordered it.
That means you're going to have it already done when it shows up?
No, I just don't do the frozen, so it'll be fresh. So I'll pick it up on that Tuesday. So they've got my money that's probably been on a truck somewhere at some point, headed this way.
And while you're ordering one, I'm sure you thought of me, so you probably got a second, right?
We got three.
Ooh,
we got three this year.
Luck.
Yeah. So come on over. Bring the family, bring the kids. It'll be a good time. But
hey, speaking of, we got a lot of people still over there getting some breakfast too, Dennis. So I think it's going to fill up nicely.
I think it's going to fill up nicely. John Blanchett and his crew always do a great job. You know, they did a great job at the event we just had on Wednesday night. So they've got a ton of things coming up with the holiday parties and different events. So let's give those folks a round of applause at each of our locations. Thank you so much. You know, food is my love language, you know, so you can feed me. I love it. So that's great. That's great. All right. I think we got Rick Ifford in Pittston. Let's go east. Rick Ifford, and I think, is that Yarborough?
It is not. It's Richard Brock.
Richard Brock. I gambled and lost. Good morning, guys.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Great week this week. We had great weather. Great crowd this week for orientation, and you know, everybody's excited to get their CDL licenses and go to work, and yeah, just a good time here this week.
Awesome. Good morning, Richard. Sorry, I thought you were Rick.
That's okay. As long as you just say Richard, you're going to get all three of us anyway, so it works.
Good morning. You got anything for us?
Yeah, I got a couple things. You know, I've been asked about what's going to be going on at the property that we purchased down there, and I kind of want to cover that one more time, just so we had some meetings and kind of went through some things, and here's what the projections look like. So that is all going to be equipment parking down there. We will be moving all of our pedigree equipment off of the yard, off of the main yard here on the terminal, and it's all going to go down there, and we're going to be making an addition onto the training pad office. And that is where our that addition is going to include some area for our pedigree and leasing folks to work out of. And it's also going to include some showers. So for those folks that are down there training, they'll be able to get a shower down there. Won't have to come up to the terminal to get a shower. That way they can kind of close out their night, go to sleep, and, you know, get a fresh start on the day with a shower down there as well. So that'll be some nice amenity additions down there. And yeah, I don't have anything else aside from that. It's been pretty quiet up here this week.
Awesome. You know, so thank you guys for being with us this morning. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, don't hesitate to jump on the microphone.
Thank you.
All right, let's go west. Salt Lake City, Utah. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Doing fantastic.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, out here west, it is a little chilly the last few days, but we have dodged the snow, so that's good. The weather overall has been pretty favorable, so get out there and run some freight if you can. A couple quick things I wanted to mention. First and foremost was the availability piece that Dennis alluded to a moment ago. You know, coming into these holiday rushes, it's super important that, you know, we have as much capacity available as we can. You know, it's going to be super, super busy. Our customers are counting on us to get product from point A to point B. So if at all possible, please be available and get that freight ran. The last thing I wanted to talk about is kind of put in a plug-in for our TNT group. We're currently in a little bit of a backlog in regards to getting our TNT students placed, so I encourage everyone that is qualified to train. If you're already been through the qualification classes and those things and you aren't currently participating, please get out there, give it some thought, talk to your fleet manager. We can definitely utilize the help right now. If you're going home for the holidays, we can go ahead and get you assigned a student now. That way we can pick them up right afterwards, but we can definitely utilize you guys. So anything you guys can do to help would be greatly appreciated.
Jonathan, is this your first winter in Salt Lake City, right?
Yes, it is.
Oh, great. You'll have some good stories. So, all right. So thank you guys for being with this morning. Of course, anybody there in Salt Lake City has any questions, comments, or concerns, don't hesitate to jump on the microphone.
You bet. Sounds good. Thanks, Dennis.
Hey, good. Right back here, Springfield, Missouri. Good morning, folks. A little bit of energy out here. Yeah, I'm kind of didn't feel 100% getting up. Dave's coughing and hacking it behind me. It's this time of year that, we just need that a little bit of pick me up. I got my coffee. Dave had somebody deliver him some tea or something here. Man, I wish I had that type of.
Richard over here, he saved me. I was kind of having got a headache going, so Richard, I think, saved me. He brought me a couple ibuprofen. So
the safety messages today is to take care of yourself.
You
Make sure you're watching out for yourself. Watch out for each other. Make sure you're feeling good. If you get flu shots, this is the time of year to do that. Make sure that the wife and kids are taken care of, whatever the case may be.
Also, this is the first day of this year, or I should say this fall, I've had to scrape my windows when I came out of the house this morning. So unfortunately, I give up our garage spaces. For some reason, I give it up to my wife because, she's married to me. So I understand that. But my son takes the other spot, which I haven't figured that one out yet. But anyway, so last night I parked my truck outside. Wasn't too happy, but okay. And then this morning I get up and go out there. I'm like, oh, man, time to find that ice scraper. So yeah, be ready because the weather's changing already. It's here and, out west, they've already got snow out there. So be prepared. Make sure you all are ready for it, too. You got proper footwear, proper, coats on. You're ready to go. Your summer stuff, you could probably leave at the house, even though some of you may get down south. And if you do, every once in a while, we'll be able to wear a nice pair of shorts or whatever, get away with. But, hey, jeans, boots, and coat time of season, Dennis.
You're an old driver, from the state of Iowa. Talk about some of the things quickly you had in your truck for winter. You talked about the footwear, flashlight, gloves, hat. What else you got?
Yeah, you just got to be ready, man. I know here we push anti-gel very heavily, so make sure you don't want to gel up on the side of the road. I can tell you my experience. One time, and you're not going to believe this, I picked up a brand new tractor in Madison, Wisconsin to take it back to our employer. And I was in a business outfit, business shoes on. It was the middle of January. I get in there and take it back, and lo and behold, starts gelling up on me before I made it back to the terminal. This is back in the mid-'90s, so I didn't have a cell phone, and I had to get out and walk to a local house and knock on the door. I remember this lady looking through the window, and I'm just kind of waving at her. Asked her, hey, can I use your phone so I can call my company and they can come and get this truck running, which was a brand new tractor because the dealership didn't put any anti-gel in it. So she gelled up on the way back, and that was my experience right there that I knew myself I would never do that again. And it's one of those things, all it happens is one time, Dennis, and you're like, that will never happen again. But yeah, be prepared. Make sure you got your chains on and all that, and you're legal to run out west, and you're prepared for it because weather's going to change, and especially up north, I think it's already started, and out west it has too, so be prepared.
Great information, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say that was the quintessential. I had to walk uphill both ways in the snow, no cell phone type story. That was the daddest story I've ever heard in my life. So, but, taking away from that, we do have some new folks here. So if you are new at any one of our terminals, this is your first week at Prime, if you would stand for just a second to give us an opportunity to welcome you to the team. Give these folks a hand. Welcome to the team. We're glad that you chose us and we chose you. I'm sure you had a ton of different options because, clean background, good work history. Your motor vehicle reports looked excellent. So you had some opportunities to go to whatever company you wanted to, and you chose us. We don't ever pretend to be the perfect company. Look at me and Dave up here, for example. But one of the things we do is we strive to get better each and every day. We use the feedback that we get from drivers, good, bad, or indifferent. We take the nuggets out of it and use it to make ourselves better. So thank you for being here. And of course, as always, I see a few familiar faces around. So thank you guys for being here. Welcome home. Now, as Jonathan alluded to, and as I said earlier, we need you out and running as soon as we can get you going. It's that time of year where available percentage is so important. So
it is, no doubt. And I just want to give a big shout out to, I know he's in there in his little office back there, but today's Teddy Mitchell's birthday. I don't know what number he is, but anyway, but happy birthday to Ted. Don't think he's looking at us, so anyway, yeah, he's waving. There we go. But no, if you ever need any embroidery done, and he does it all for us, Teddy is a great guy to have. And even if you got something you want done personally or whatever, he'll try to fit you in and get that knocked out too. So it's great to have him and Carissa back there doing that embroidery for us. So,
all right, Dave, I got a quiz for you. He didn't know this was coming. All right, let's see how well you do. And this past week I was just going through some old files, cleaning up some stuff, and I came across a video by the late Don Lacey. All right, give Don Lacey a round of applause. You remember who he is? A great and historic safety director here at Prime, well known throughout the industry. He actually hired Dave White. So, he used to have this list that he called the 5 unforgivables. You remember that?
I do remember that number.
All right, now I'm gonna see if you can come up with the 5 unforgivable accidents that Don Lacey used to talk about.
Number 1's rear end.
Number 1's rear end.
Number 2 is parking on the side of the road.
Number 2 is parking on the side of the road.
What Don would call something with a duck, wasn't it?
Sitting duck.
Sitting duck. That was it. That's right. That was his term there for that one. Number 3, U-turns.
Number 3, U-turns. Before you move on, let's talk about U-turns for just a second. U-turns are probably one of the most dangerous maneuvers you can make in trucking. All right, now, and I'm not talking about where the traffic pattern takes you in that direction. That's not what I consider a U-turn. A U-turn is what I consider, well, I'm going this way, I missed my turn, so I need to wait for everybody to go by and change directions. A complete 180. No. So if you ever think about making a U-turn, don't. That's the simple coaching. Next time you think about making a U-turn, don't. Find a place to pull into, to change directions, to get back to where you're going. You've got 70 plus feet of tractor and trailer. You're not driving around in a little pickup truck or a little passenger vehicle where you can whip around. It takes a long time for a truck to get around, and especially in some of these areas where the speed limit may be 60 miles an hour. We always talk about this when we talk about distracted driving. How far do you go when you 65 miles an hour in 3 seconds? About the length of a couple of football fields, right? All right. Same for that passenger vehicle coming up. I was going to make this U-turn. I looked, they were way back. And I gradually went around. Well, it took you 8 seconds to get around. How far do you think that vehicle traveled? So, but sorry to interrupt you. That was number.
No, and that's a good point too, because when you're making that turn, that vehicle coming at you, and you all see it every day out there. People are distracted driving all the time. I mean, just on my way into work, I could look over at people in 4-wheelers, and I even saw one guy this morning on a motorcycle, which I thought, man, that's crazy. But the 4-wheelers, they're sitting there, they got their cell phones up on their dash, and they're not paying attention. So when you make that U-turn and you start blocking that road, man, that's a tough one for us to get out of. Even if they run into you, they should have saw you. Yeah, they should have. They should have slowed down. All this should haves. But if they hit us, man, that's a tough one for us to defend. So just remember that. Yeah, never do a U-turn. And on top of that, we are monitoring those, Dennis, on our cameras too as well. So you'll be getting a phone call if you do, but stay out of doing U-turns. That is not good, and the results can be bad. So we don't want to go down that road.
All right, you said rear end, park on the side of the road, U-turns.
Man, I'm drawing a blank on I was hoping you'd forget about it. We just move on. What's the other two?
Rollover accidents.
Rollover. That's right. That's
Okay,
right.
and this is the time of year where we were, just last week, major snow situation out west. Just take it slow. Don't put it in a ditch. Don't roll it over. Don't jackknife it. I promise you, a couple hours later, it'll get better. All right. Don't force it in inclement weather. And the last one, number 5, is the lane change accident.
There we go.
So Don Lacey, like I said, hired Dave, inspired a lot of us, some of the things that we still use and implement today, he's a big part of that. So I just thought it'd be cool to see if you could pull those out and remember those are what he used to coach.
3 out of 5. I could be in Cooperstown if I was playing baseball.
Or you could be taking the class again. If
That's
you were
true. I probably would, but yeah, that may not be a bad idea.
All right. So we got a pretty decent meeting lined up today. What do we got first? Well, we didn't go into safety numbers.
Let's talk about inspections. We had 135 DOT inspections. 97 of those were clean. So a good 72% clean rate. So good job. Give yourself a round of applause. Another week in the 70s, so that was great. This week we had Rick Iffert do our inspection, so I'm going to throw it back up to Rick. What did you see this week, Rick, on those inspections?
See some low-hanging fruit there that we could have prevented. And the 2 biggest ones I seen were not pulling into the scale house and speeding. Speeding is an easy one. You just got to slow down. And it's not out on the interstates. It's in those little towns where you're dealing with 45, 55, and 50 mile an hour speed limits. You just got to watch those and make sure you slow down. Scale houses are simple also. Just pay attention to your signs. Got to watch those signs and pull in when they say pull in.
And I'm just going to add on to what Rick said on the scales part. I had a gentleman at my desk yesterday. He'd been driving for us less than a year. Didn't know what a Rand McNally motor carrier atlas is. I suggest every one of you have one of those. I know that's old school trucking, and you have drive-wise in your truck, and you got GPS and all that. But still, when you're trip planning, when you're going from here to California, you need to know where those scales are. And granted, the one you're heading west now. The one down in Joplin, they do have closed down because they're getting rid of that one. But, once you get into Oklahoma, you need to know, hey, when I get past Oklahoma City, there's a scale there. I get down to New Mexico, and those are all the permanent scales. Now, sometimes the tough ones to hit are the ones that are just temporary, where they put up a sign and say, hey, you need to pull in here. Kansas does that, Nebraska, New Mexico. Granted, it doesn't happen as much in the wintertime, but it can still happen. So you need to be aware, and like Rick says, be looking for those signs. But, that Rand McNally motor carrier atlas, that'll show you where all the permanent scales are. And it's good to know that and have that with you. So when you're trip planning, you know everything what's going on, what you're going to be encountering going down the road. So.
Fantastic information.
72%, man, pretty good.
72%, pretty solid. We love to see it higher, but I'm pretty proud of that 72% number. So give yourself a round of applause.
Now I got an easy one for you. Question: November 18th coming up. What's that?
That's my wife's birthday.
Is it really?
It is.
Wow, that's a.
No, but so I'm pretty sure a lot of you are tuned into the industry journals and industry magazines, but November 18th, a big portion of some drivers out there, mostly not associated with crime, that have had some situations with drugs and alcohol that have been submitted to the clearinghouse, their CDLs are going to be downgraded. So
yeah. So if you fail to test a DOT drug or alcohol test and you haven't got to return to duty, meaning you haven't come back into the system to start, getting your follow-up testing done, your license will be downgraded to prohibited, and you still have your car license, but that'll be it. So states are taking that into consideration. The feds are getting much more stricter on this because, to be honest, they have caught a few drivers out there running when they've had a failed drug test or failed alcohol test. So they're going to the next step now. They're going to require all the states to downgrade the license. So, just another heads up. Let's, be thinking, watch what you do on your free time too, as well, because you don't want to get involved in this stuff. Failed drug test, failed alcohol test, that's not good. So, be prepared, know the regulations, and come, November 18th, I think they said 178,000 right now are in the clearinghouse that will be affected with their licenses. So now many of those probably no longer in the industry, so they won't care. But if you want to stay in the industry, it's going to affect you. So
I see a number of faces out there looking like, what? How in the world can a driver be driving, at least at prime, that's failed a drug test? Well, I'll tell you. So best example I have, you know what, Dave? You guys are putting those damn cameras in there. I'm out. Right? You guys have heard somebody say that. So you go and apply at whatever trucking company, but you forgot that when you went home last weekend, you may have partaken in something you didn't have any business partaking in, and you failed the pre-employment drug test at that other company. And then you say, you know what, cameras ain't that bad of a deal, so I'm gonna just continue to work at Prime, right? Get that dang camera installed, and then about 30 days later, you get a message from your fleet manager said, hey, you need to log on to this portal and sign this form. We've got something that's hit on the driver drug and alcohol clearinghouse on you. And that's because you've taken that pre-employment drug screen at that other company. It was a failed drug screen. They submitted it, and about a month later, it hit the drug and alcohol clearinghouse. And then, unfortunately, once we get it in our system, we do have to disqualify you. And now, as Dave said, on November 18th, your CDL will be downgraded. So just some information to drivers out there, so especially for those that are going to be recruiting up here. If you're recruiting somebody from another company, these are some of the questions that you might want to ask them. You haven't failed any drug tests in the past, have you? It's not, you got nothing in the drug and alcohol clearinghouse, do you? So you'll be good to go.
all right, let's move right along off of that one. We got Stan Casterkey here this morning. Good to see Stan back, and he wanted to say a few words for us regarding over to campus. So good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. Hey, good morning, everyone. Happy day before Saturday. For some of us, it doesn't really matter. We're in trucking, right? Every day is a wonderful day in the trucking industry. So I want to talk about stopping in the middle of a road like a Glenstone Avenue, Armstrong up in Pittston, Pennsylvania. We just had two drivers this morning stop in the lane on Glenstone to drop people off at Campus Inn. We cannot do that. This was at 4:30 in the morning. There's not a lot of traffic on the road, but honestly, that's probably one of the most dangerous times that you could do it. People are not expecting a truck to be stopped in the middle of the road or any vehicle to be stopped in the middle of the road. We cannot do that, okay? Any questions on that? So that means everyone understands, right? Okay. One other thing, so did you know, and this is a kind of a challenge for all of you drivers, trainees, whenever you're out there, did you know it takes about 30 seconds to go from a stop lane to make a left turn or a right turn? It takes about 30 seconds. Check that next time you do a turn. That's one thing we teach our PSDs, how long it takes for that vehicle to clear an intersection. So if you've never checked that, it's usually about 30 seconds. There's one other thing that I was going to mention on that, but I can't remember what it was now. So anyway, thanks for all you do. Thanks for your time. Be safe out there.
So quick question, if you're a trainer, you need to drop somebody off. Best place to do that's over here, right?
Absolutely. Training pad, the shuttles are not running at 4:30 in the morning, but we have a cafeteria that's open here. They can drop them off here, catch that shuttle later on. If you want a bobtail over there, drop your trailer, take them over there, bobtail, whatever the situation may be. The thing I just thought of it. Did you see the light bulb come on?
I did. Yes.
Yeah. So if you've ever felt like Prime didn't have a great training program and you're not training, make the difference. Okay. I mean, really, that's what we have to do. If you don't feel like Prime has a great training program, and we do, make the difference. Get with your fleet manager, talk to them about expectations as far as being an instructor or trainer. You have to have at least 2 years of a CDL, commercial driving experience, to be able to be a PSD instructor. Make the difference. Okay. You've seen people out there struggling for other companies. And you thought, man, they had terrible training. Well, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. Maybe they just need some help. We all need that every once in a while. That's what my wife tells me. That's why she married me, is because she's here to help. So anyway, I appreciate you all. Have a great day. Okay. Thanks.
There you go, Stan. Thank you very much for coming up here. Appreciate it. Good words of wisdom right there.
Good words of wisdom.
Not only that, make our training program better. Join it too. If you think it's great, it can always get better. That's what we're always striving for, is to get better.
I believe in numbers, and like I said, I was going through those old files, and I was looking at some of the accident per million mile numbers that Don Lacey and even Steve Field had. And man, if you think our training program is getting worse, boy, I got news for you. Our overall fleet, including the training program, from an accident standpoint, is getting so much better. We are so much better than what we were 10 and 15 years ago, that it's, you kind of look back. I even had to double check the numbers to see if they're accurate. It's like, this can't be right. It was right. It was right. And we're getting so much better. So that's a tenement to the folks over there in our training program, and most importantly, tenement to you guys and gals that are out training these new drivers. By no means are you perfect, and we don't expect for you to be perfect, but by and large, from an accident per million mile standpoint, we are so much better than what we were a decade ago.
We are. So who you got next, man? Let's get some other people up here.
Sure. So we're going to highlight a vendor. We got Summer from the company store to come on up and give us a few minutes. Good morning, Summer.
Good morning. So I know it's not quite Thanksgiving, about 2 weeks away, but Christmas is only 40. So you're going to blink your eyes and it's going to be gone. Each year, we try to promote and offer a new ornament. And this year, we are blessed to have two. To start off with our beautifully etched gold ornament for the Prime truck. They're very nice, and we can give this one away here in a moment. You mind, Dennis? And we got the privilege of our very own Brett Meredith in orientation here in Springfield, hand carved each one of our beautiful wood ornaments, each unique to themselves. They will be available at all 3 locations soon. They are here in Springfield, and they are already on the online store, which you can find that at primeinkstore.com. But they're each so very nice. So come get your ornaments while they're still available.
All right. So quick question. This is how we're going to give away this ornament. Right now, who already has their Christmas tree up? Bam, you won. You've got an
Pittston and Salt
ornament.
Lake.
How long have you had it up?
Since I went home, it was at October 30th.
No, you're a Halloween Christmas. It was a Halloween tree. There you go. That's awesome. So, all right.
Awesome. Well, thank you. The Prime stores right now are Pittston is 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. Sunday and Saturday they are closed. In the meantime, while Margine is on maternity leave, Salt Lake and Springfield are Monday through Friday, 7 to 7, Saturday 9 to 5, and Sunday 9 to 3.
And always open online at
primeinkstore.com.
All right. Thanks, Summer.
Thank you.
You got your tree up?
Nope. After Thanksgiving, baby.
There you go. There, he had his Halloween tree up. He's ready to go. I love it.
That's good.
Good. All right. So, Donna Logs, come on up.
I like that introduction.
She's, man, you've been somewhere everywhere here lately. You've been out in logs, you've been out in the shop, you've been in trucks, and you are kind of the geotab guru these days, right?
Apparently, allegedly.
All right. So, good morning. What do you got for us this morning?
All right, so we just actually wanted to cover a few important items regarding the transition from, OmniTrax over to the geotab that we've seen lately. I think one of our biggest items is the transition. So we have seen a few items where we have had drivers who perhaps if they're training or they're upgrading to get a new vehicle, they were previously on the geotab in the old truck, but the new truck that they're getting or the new instructor trainer that they're getting moved to or assigned to now has an OmniTrax unit or the Qualcomm units in their truck. You cannot switch. Once you go geo, you cannot go back. So if you do see this, you will have to make sure that you get with either the fleet manager, the instructing, or the training department, or even contact the log department for assistance, so we can help make sure that you get transitioned to a vehicle that has a geotab. If it's an upgrade, we can get you to the shop, get that Qualcomm taken out. and get that geotab installed, or make sure that you do get assigned to an instructor or a trainer that also has a geotab unit, okay? So you cannot go back and forth between the units. So just make sure you have that in place, and if anything, make logs your contact point if you need assistance with that, and we can make sure that you get that taken care of. And a few other items are just going to pertain to when you get your geotab unit. There are many training videos, and of course, we always have the classes. They are walk-in. They're Monday through Friday at each one of our terminals. Salt Lake City, it's at 12:30. Right here in Springfield, it's 1:30 in the Plaza Building. And up there in Pittston, it is at 14:30. Okay, they're walk-in, just show up. But you also have the training videos on the Prime app under Geotab Info, as well as on your Geotab unit. If you go to ELD Info on your dashboard, scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll have how-to videos, and back up at the top, you will also have the numbers for Prime logs as well as the IT department. But just note, when you do log into your Geotab unit, you will be asked to enter in a username. The username is going to be your driver code. So we no longer use the QC, or you do not need your PIN number. You'll enter in your driver code, hit next. It's going to direct you right to the Prime app, where you'll be asked to enter in your Prime app email address as well as your password. If you did in fact forget those items, you can contact our amazing IT department for assistance to get that reset. Once you've done that, you'll be asked to select your vehicle. You'll select your vehicle, and then you will be transitioned to now verify the transfer of your logs. Now, just so everybody knows, because this is one of our biggest phone calls, it's showing I'm on duty, or it's showing I am in yard movement. You get a false account of your logs before you actually accept the transfer of them. So just make sure that you hit save and continue at the bottom. It's going to direct you to the logs page, where you'll be able to verify and accept each one of your days, and they'll be transferred now into your Geotab unit. Now you'll have your correct hours, and of course, your logs will be present, okay? Let me just make sure. Make sure also that you do go to your Prime app and sign your Geotab consent form. That's going to be for the cameras. And of course, you must complete either a log class, or go into the Prime app, go to Geotab Info, and watch the Geotab training video. That will suffice the requirement, okay? I think that is it. Does anybody have any questions?
I just want to know, do they know we're in the yard? Because I was going like 15 miles an hour and didn't go off.
What is it?
When I was in the yard, I went 15 miles an hour and it didn't go off duty. What
It was
speed
keeping you in drive?
No, it was keeping me in off.
Keeping you in off duty, not moving you to drive time.
Yeah, it wasn't moving me at 15 miles an hour.
20 miles an hour? Are you talking about yard move or drive?
I mean, I was off duty and I was just moving. I didn't need to go in the yard movement or nothing. I just was off duty and I was driving and it didn't go off till late.
Yeah, 5 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Just remember too, though, I mean, if you're going, it may take time if you just had your unit installed. I'm sure updating wise, that's another thing too. If you do see something wrong, let us know immediately before you leave out of the terminal, because you will be routed right back around. We could take a look at your logs even to make sure that it does pick up and record. Again, sometimes with the speedometer, even though what you're seeing may not be what you're going, it's not going to register on point exactly sometimes, but we can definitely take a look at that before you leave out.
Okay, now I understand y'all put a lot of work to try to make this transition smoothly. Maybe my situation was unique, but it was horrible just doing the first half of leaving Qualcomm before the maintenance people can put in the new system into the truck. Because, for example, we had to certify a partial day, and we had no clue this was true. I mean, I logged out the Qualcomm system so the truck can go into the shop. I get a call from my co-driver talking about, oh, well, we need you to come back and log back in because you need to certify half a day instead of certifying at the end of the day, which you traditionally do. So just in my personal experience, There needs to be a little more communication of what reality is and transitioning from one to the next. Because my situation was horrible. Now you're telling me when I go to log into the new system, I'm looking forward to another horror story.
Well, it's not a horror story. You're just going to enter, log in like you would a Qualcomm. It's just a little bit different. And then it's just going to ask you to verify and accept your log transfer for all those days. So it's just hitting verify and accept when you get to that logs page. It's going to be 8 days, 8 days of log transfer. So in the units, you can only have access to your current and your prior 7 days. So it'll just be that transfer of logs. Now, in regards to what you were saying about the certification, I know we always certify at the end of the day. However, when we're leaving OmniTracks, so those logs are still present for FMCSA regulations. You never want to show any partial time or anything else that you didn't have certified. So we want to make sure that your logs are on point before you leave them. So we have you certified all the way up to date when you get to the terminal, and then before you log out. If it does happen, it is something that we've done many a time so far to get those logs certified for you before they actually transition your logs to the geotab units. So certify up to date. When you pull into the shop, it should say 8 of 8 days under that certified tab, and then go ahead and log out of the Qualcomm.
Is there anything different as far as transferring your logs to a DOT officer that requests the electronic logs transferred to their system?
It is, but it's a lot easier. So the Qualcomm kind of made you jump through hoops. However, if you're on your geotab unit and you're on your dashboard page, if you look at the bottom, you're going to see the roadside check button. If you click on that, it's going to ask you for the comment box, type in the email address, and then just right below it, hit email transfer. If it's a badge number, type the badge number in and hit web services. That's it. So super simple.
Hi, I was in logs yesterday taking the geotab training. Do you recommend the student or TNT trainees come to the class, or do you recommend them take it online?
I always recommend the class. So if you have a TNT, whether it's a PSC or a TNT, I always say take them to the class with you. Whether or not they're upgrading or whether or not they're just starting out, any information or knowledge that they can gain, that's always going to help and assist them moving forward. So I definitely do recommend the class. If you're here, take it in person, leave the video. If you want to go back to it to get more information, just get a reiteration of it. But definitely the class is always the best option.
All right, so Donna, hopefully you can stick around after the meeting
Yes.
in case anybody has any other questions. So,
All right.
thank you.
Well, thank you guys. Have a good Friday and a good weekend.
Good job. Logs class is pretty awesome. I've taken it about 4 or 5 times now because I get asked about logs all the time, and it's always something so small and minute and intricate that I have to go back and refresh myself on.
It's not always easy. It's not always black and white. You got to know exactly. So, yep.
All right, what do we got next?
Next, we got from our driver health and fitness, we have Rachel and Colby coming up. So, yeah, there we go. Got a round of applause there. There we go.
Talking about. Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm Colby with the driver health and fitness. This is Rachel, our on-site dietitian. So every week we always have a health tip for you. It could be exercise related, could be nutrition related. Rachel, what do you have for us this week?
Well, good morning. So yeah, for the health tip for today, I was going to have a couple of these pulled up on the screen so that you guys can reference them if you need to. But the health tip is tracking what you are eating in case you are trying to reach a health goal and you're not really seeing a ton of progress. So I see that with a lot of people. Like, let's say you're wanting to have some weight control, you're wanting to gain muscle, lose fat. I have people who they're not seeing any progress with just their current routine. And so what we do is we track their food. MyFitnessPal has a free version. MyNet Diary, that is also up there, has a free version, and so does Chronometer. And those are all great ones to use. And I think they work really well, especially for being a free version as well. So yeah, if you do that just for a couple of weeks, we can usually start to either, let's say you want to get past a plateau, we can get you past your plateau and we can start seeing progress. So it's a great tool if you're trying to make a health change, but you're just not seeing any progress. I definitely recommend tracking. And one thing that we can do, if you want me to kind of check in on you, give you feedback, give you guidance as you're tracking, is you can friend me. So you can friend me by doing Prime Transformation. Oh, sorry, the username got messed up, but it's just Prime Transformation, one word. And that's on MyFitnessPal, my Net Diary. You can friend me and I can check in on your tracking.
So using that, Rachel, you have a reference or one or two examples of a driver that has used it where you have seen maybe the sharing of it? Because I can think, like, we always talk about accountability, right? So that's a good way to show accountability, right? Is
Yeah.
to say, hey, Rachel, sometimes check on me. Or if I have a conversation with you, you can look at my food, right?
Yeah, I have a lot of people who I check in on their tracking weekly. I just do a quick check-in.
Because they
I
ask
send
you to, right?
Yes, because they ask me. I'm not going to check in if you don't want me to. I'm not going to be weird about it. So yeah, if you want me to check in, I'll go in and I'll just shoot you a message every week if you want me to do that. And I have people who've done that. And like, I just had a driver who I checked in with yesterday, and he is off of his blood pressure medication. So that's a huge progress right there. Like and he had a ton of weight change as well. But yeah, he's off of his medication and he no longer has to have his, he no longer has to go in to get his DOT, renewed pretty often. He can do the 2-year card. So
one other question I have about it. So we're talking tracking. What if I'm a driver or an individual generally? I'm like, I don't want to weigh my food. I don't want, like, I just eat stuff in the label, process things. Like, is that manageable that way? Is it only like for the strict of like, I got to measure my food and stuff like that?
Well, yeah, I would say you don't have to measure your food doing it this way. If you do measure your food, it's going to be more accurate, right? But even if you don't measure your food, even if you're just kind of eyeballing things, I kind of go off of like the hand method for a way of measurement. So for like a female, your hand is about a cup. So just like if you're a guy and you have big hands, you probably have a fist that's about a cup and a half. You can measure things that way. You can measure things kind of like that. And then also looking at like ounces, you can go off of your thumb. So again, female thumb is about an ounce. So you can kind of go like measuring things with your hands, and that's not perfect, right? But it's a good way to get an idea of what you're doing, and it's still helpful. I have plenty of people who do not measure things.
Yeah. Well, I love that because, like you said, it's better, right? It's a progress in the right direction. So that's the whole point. Is it's better than just flying blind, right?
Yes.
So.
And one thing that tracking helps with a lot, as well as accountability with me, if you want that, is that it's more accountability to yourself too, because if you have something that you're like, I want to eat this, but I don't want to log it, a lot of times that's kind of like an indicator that something you shouldn't eat. And I have a lot of people who that helps them to, change what they're eating. So
Yeah, awesome. Has anybody in here already terminals logged food before? You could just show of hands. Do you find it difficult or it's pretty easy? It can be easy? Yeah, okay, awesome. Well, there you go. Well, guys, like I said, if you have any questions, let us know. We'll hang around here. And then also at all 3 terminals, we always have a representative to talk to there too. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you all.
How big is your thumb? I'm just joking, Dave.
I think I got yours.
Don't show me your thumb. Don't show me your thumb. All right.
Don't be
So,
asking me at lunch to use my thumb.
all right, we're rolling pretty well here. So we've got a speaker that we haven't had in a long time, the recruiting department. So we got Heather Bureau from our recruiting department. Good morning, Heather. What do you got for us?
Good morning. Well, we are really needed drivers and need of trainers, like Stan said. And I just wanted to talk about a few things and pay for referrals. But speaking on trainers first, since that was most recently mentioned, Highway Diamonds is a very successful program, which is driving a lot of females. And we have a huge female presence. Now we're trying to get caught up on trainers. So if you can and are willing, you only need 6 months for the TNT phase. If you're new coming into Prime, you must have 60 days before you're eligible. But that would greatly help recruiting so we can keep on pace to hire everybody that we want to. A lot of people are hesitant to apply if you're like, I don't know if I'll qualify. I don't know if my friend will qualify. Well, we're trained to do that. So just have them apply. Experience, non-experience, please just have them apply. I also want you guys to make sure you're giving out your referral codes. So I always tell people if you can email, that's a way for you to keep track, and then we can check back with training, on tagging to make sure it was updated. But that has to be placed on the app before you guys get hired or your referral gets hired. Otherwise, you won't get credit. So you need to make sure that you're checking in with them, you're checking in with recruiting and making sure it's updated. Let's see. And then, let's see. So also you can call your recruiter for a specific link if you've been dealing with somebody, or you can just have the person go to driveforprime.com. And we can just make sure you have that updated. Now, as far as pay on referrals, you're getting paid a lot. Maybe this will be a good way for you to keep up with, catch back up after Christmas, whatever it may be, get ahead before Christmas. If we refer a driver, you get $100 when they haul their first load, $500 when they stay 30 days, $500 when they stay 6 months, and a quarter cent per mile for every mile they drive after 6 months while they're here. And then $1,000 if you do that 3 times with 3 drivers that stay 6 months. So it's a lot of money, and we definitely need the referrals because those are the best drivers. Have your referrals refer people. We just want to see those apps coming through and making sure we're filling those trainers up. Does anybody have any questions for recruiting? Okay, thank you guys.
All right, thank you, Heather.
Thank you, Heather. Appreciate it.
All right, now we got the smart guys coming up.
I think we just had a smart gal talk.
Yeah, but now it's time for the smart
Good
guys.
job. There we go.
From our maintenance team, we've got Trent and Dennis. Come on up here, guys. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. So we're getting really close to the holidays. I wanted to bring up our Freightliner rep to start this out. He's going to talk about the do's and don'ts around getting into the shops around this holiday season. So go ahead, Dennis.
All right. Good morning, everybody. So like you said, we're coming up on holiday season. Thanksgiving's 2 weeks away, and I can already tell, I just have a hunch. Some people here are more than likely planning on dropping their trucks off at the dealerships during holiday weekends, weeks. Honestly, probably my biggest tidbit advice is don't. And mainly because every other driver, every other fleet, they're all thinking the same thing. It's a convenient time because everybody's on home time. So honestly, if you can avoid going during the holiday week, I would. If you've got a minor thing, right now would be a good time to get it done. My shop here in town, Joplin, they've got shop availability, and we can get you in and looked at within the same day or next. Salt Lake City, our dealership there is about the same, and I haven't got a chance to talk to people around Pittston, but I know they can get to people within a day or two up there as well. So that would probably be my biggest tidbit of advice is avoid on the holiday weeks. Try to get it done about 2 weeks before or after the holidays. And man, on that week of Christmas and New Year's, man, I would just avoid it altogether because there's no such thing as a fast repair on holiday weeks. You might think you can get in there, get out in a day or two, and man, you're going to be stuck there for 3-4 days easy. So I'm just trying to avoid some heartache on that one. So that's my biggest tidbit of advice. And I just kind of wanted to talk about a couple other things just to try to ease your time at dealerships and get a better overall dealership experience. First thing I would say is always have a reference number ready. That's going to make your check-in with the dealership a lot faster. And then also your road assist knows where you're at, what you're getting done, and they're there to back you up. Second thing that I remember a lot in my time at the dealership is food, refrigerators. Don't leave food, don't leave medication, diet, insulin, don't leave it in your refrigerator. You can tell the service counter, man, don't turn my APU off, but there's too many exchange of hands. Your truck gets worked on by, upwards of 3 technicians sometimes, and them APUs, when they're kicked on in the shop and in closed space, they get turned off, and shops don't have enough battery chargers to run every single truck in the shop. So don't leave food in your fridge because it will not last, and the dealer's not going to compensate you for it. And then probably the last thing, and I'm going to out myself a little bit here, is keys. If you are like me and you have a set of keys like this, for people in Pittston, Salt Lake City, I probably got about 12 keys on my ring here. Don't give them these. Don't give them your whole set of keys, mainly because we don't want all your keys. And two, like I said, with your fridge, there's just so many changes of hands between the service counter, your technicians. There is a chance they can get misplaced, and we can replace your truck key. We can replace it very easily. We can't replace your house key, your safety deposit box key, nothing like that. We can't replace those. We can replace your truck key. So I would advise just taking off your truck key and giving that to service. And I remember sometime, people would feel like we were inconveniencing them. And if a dealer asks you that, we are asking you that to try not to inconvenience you for the idea that they might get lost. And just kind of recant a story on that. We had one customer a couple of years ago. It was a Forest Service truck, a government vehicle. Keys got misplaced, and the customer was very, very unhappy. And more than likely, the reason why is probably because they had keys on that ring that were probably to restricted areas that normal people aren't supposed to have. And a couple of days later, we ended up finding the keys in another truck's cup holder because tech had gotten in a truck, put them in the cup holder to get into the shop, and then just as soon as the keys left their hand, it was out of their mind. They forgot all about them. And thankfully, I was able to get in touch with that customer and mail the keys to them because they lived 3 hours away from the shop, so it was not just a convenient trip to come back and pick them up. So I think those would probably be 3 things I would recommend for dealer visits to just kind of give you a better dealer experience on that. So.
Okay, well, thanks, Dennis. One thing I'll say to be mindful of, know what you're getting into. When you take your truck into a shop, we need to have an idea of what kind of workload they've got. And I'll tell you that the hometown shops that wherever you live in Georgia or Indiana, they're going to be really backed up through the holidays. So I would encourage you guys to think about waiting on that, getting your truck to a terminal. Usually we can turn trucks around a lot faster through the terminals. So get a hold of Road Assist and we'll try to figure out what the best plan is for you for your truck. One other thing that I want to go over this morning and talk about, Dave already told a really good story on this and the consequences that can happen if you don't properly use anti-gel and it gets cold enough outside. It's a nightmare. These downtime events are really massive. We're talking well into the thousands of dollars that it's going to cost your business if your truck gels up. So diesel fuel will freeze. There's a freeze point on diesel fuel. It'll start to crystallize and solidify. And if that happens, the truck's not going to work anymore. So the magic number with anti-gel and diesel freezing is 20, okay? Anytime it's at 20 degrees or colder outside, that diesel is going to be cold enough that it could solidify and freeze up. So we need to use a product called Antigel that you just pour into the diesel, into the fuel tanks with the diesel. It mixes into the fluid, and that drives down the freeze point of your diesel fuel. So the magic number is 20. Anytime it's below 20 degrees, you need to have treated your fuel. And each treatment that you put in your fuel system is going to lower the freeze point by around 20 degrees. So one treatment, just putting one treatment in the tanks isn't necessarily going to be enough no matter what. If it gets cold enough, below zero, then you could be looking at a cold enough temp, even with some anti-gel in the tanks, that the fuel can still freeze up. So you want to be mindful of that. Every 20 degrees, the temps drop, put some more anti-gel in the tanks. One other thing that I want to cover and go through is that you've got 4 different major components on your tractor and trailer, if you're reefer, that use diesel fuel. So these 4 different components, you've got to treat the entire fuel system on all 4 of these things. It's not just the fuel in the fuel tank. You've got fuel lines, you've got injectors, the fuel filters, all that diesel has to have anti-gel mixed into it. So let's go over the 4 things. The first 3, everybody can guess pretty quick. Your tractor, your APU, your reefer unit. But there's one more thing that uses diesel fuel that a lot of us overlook, and that is your bunk heater. Your bunk heater burns diesel fuel to keep you warm. That's how it's providing you heat. And it's actually the hardest thing to treat because it doesn't use a lot of diesel fuel at all. It doesn't go through much. So we need to be mindful of that. Make sure you keep that bunk heater running for several hours. After you treat your fuel, it's going to need to run for 3 to 4 hours nonstop to ensure that we pull that treated fuel out of the fuel tanks all the way up into the heater. That's the hardest thing. The next hardest thing is the reefer unit. Keep in mind, your fuel tank is about 30 feet behind the reefer, behind the engine. That's a lot of fuel line that all that fuel has to go through, and it's going to take some time. You're going to need to give your reefer about 2 to 3 hours of run time before you've ensured the treated fuel gets through that fuel system. Your APU is going to take about an hour, hour and a half, and your tractor goes pretty quick. It's about 30, 45 minutes of run time, and it's going to be treated. So make sure you're treating your fuel ahead of time. You don't want to wind up in Chicago where it's 10 degrees and realize that you haven't treated your fuel system because you're behind the curve at that point. So well before you get into the cold, make sure and get this stuff in the tanks so it's fully treated by the time you get into the cold. Now let's talk about what happens if the truck does gel up. If you wind up with a gel up issue, there's a couple of products that you need to have with you on the truck to make your day better and to help you get out of that problem. So first of all, there's a product in a red bottle. It's called, excuse me, it's called 911. And Diesel 911 is not anti-gel. It's actually an ungelling product. That's what you're going to put in the fuel tanks after the fuel has already frozen up. It's going to help return it to a liquid. And the last thing that I encourage you guys to get and put on the truck is going to be fuel filters. You want to have some extra spare fuel filters because if that fuel gels up in the filter is going to be no good and it's going to have to get swapped out. I'll tell you that if you go into the truck stop, if you're in Nebraska somewhere and there's 20 trucks on the lot that have all gelled up and all those 20 trucks need 911 and fuel filters, they're going to run out of stock really fast. So I encourage everyone to plan ahead. And first of all, make sure you're treating your fuel correctly. But second of all, get some fuel filters and some 911s. You've got it with you on the truck, and you don't have to worry about scrounging it out of the truck stop when 20 other trucks in the lot are wanting the same thing. So that's all I've got. I see I've got a question over there. If somebody can get the mic over to him. We are running low on time, so I'll get a couple of questions.
Hey, just a quick question on you said run the bunk heater. Now, my truck, I have the insulation package, and my bunk heater's generally well maintained, so everything keeps nice and warm all the time for me. How do I get the bunk heater to run for several hours continuously when mine cycles on and off, on and off, on and off?
It's just going to take some time. So if it's cycling on and off, then it'll take longer than 3 hours. You'll just have to give it 3 hours of actual runtime. One thing, if you want to keep the bunk heater running and you don't want it to cycle back off, turn the heat up. Turn it up as high as it'll go. Maybe crack the windows if it's getting too hot in the cab, but that's one way you can keep it going. I'll leave it at that. If anybody else has any other questions, please come over to the side over there.
I'll just make one more comment regarding anti-gel because this came up last week while I was out. People always seem to have the question of does anti-gel expire? And it does not, as long as the factory seal is still intact. As long as it is unopened, it is an indefinite shelf life. If it's open, 12 to 18 months, get it used.
Good info. Well, thank you, everybody. Stay safe out there. Stay safe in the cold.
All right, always great information from our maintenance team. Thank you, Trent. Thank you, Dennis, for that information. So, we're going to throw it back up to Salt Lake City here real quick. We've got John Greenlee from our Reefer Dispatch Department, very popular fleet manager, very knowledgeable. So what do you have this morning for us, John?
Good morning, guys. I'm kind of going to go back in time here a little bit, let everybody know my history here at Prime. I started here in '99 as a driver. I learned real quickly at Prime. I came in with an idea that being a truck driver was still basically just holding the steering wheel, avoiding the traffic, getting your load there on time. I learned real quickly that Prime is not one of these places you can come to and think you're going to skate away on the thin ice of a new day, to quote Jethro Tull. So I had to step up my game. Doing that, of course, here I am 26 years later, almost. Just wanted to talk about a couple of things that we can do as drivers to step up our game. Real quick, I kind of want to get everybody to kind of imagine this. Imagine you go to, you're on time off or you're at the house. You go out to eat and you got a waitress that comes up or a waiter that comes up to your table and they've got a headset on or an earbud in and they're wanting to take your order. You're going to kind of look at that restaurant and go, well, what in the world is going on here? So think about the same thing when you're walking into a customer. First off, knowing that temperature, everything like that, you've got a headset on, you can only hear out of one ear, you're trying to talk to people, you're probably not going to catch all the information you need. So make sure you go into these customers, you're checking in, leave the headsets in your truck, make sure you take a highlighter, a pen in with you, circle your temperatures, circle your weights, your pieces, highlight them, whatever you need to do. Save your business when it comes to that. Just leave the cell phones in the truck until you're done checking in and checking out with these places. Show that you care about people as a professional driver out there, and make sure you do your part with that. Also, we need to kind of remember to check, seals, temps, and everything on those bills. Let's see. What else did I have? Dave, you guys kind of killed me this morning with a lot of your stuff. Winter trip planning. Let's talk winter trip planning. Dave said something about, a map, Rand McNally map. Just remember, guys, if you're not pulling that map out and winter trip planning, looking at weather, looking at the route you're taking, you're really not doing your job. If you're relying just on that GPS, you're not doing your job right. There are a lot of places, let's take, for example, if you leave out of Chicago going to California, you got 3 routes you can take: Interstate 40, Interstate 70, and Interstate 80. If you've had 80 shut down for 3 or 4 days, one of those other routes might be better to take. They're only adding about 100, 125 miles to that trip, but it might save you or be able to deliver that load on time. So get out there, trip plan, make sure you're looking at those maps. Dave said something about, looking at scales. If you look at a map and you don't know how to find exit numbers, scales, weight restrictions, things like that, please come to somebody. Let us help you learn how to look those things up, because that's you've got a lot of information in a Rand McNally that is super helpful as a professional driver. Also remember, with winter times, we are, as drivers, the captain of our ship. And if you guys don't feel safe, do not drive. Everybody has a different driving level or safe point that they feel is good for them. Me personally, I was a chain thrower. I didn't have a problem with it. I didn't mind driving with chains on or putting them on. Other people, they're not going to do that. So don't look out at the interstate and see trucks running down the road and automatically assume it's safe. Make a judgment call based off of your own experience and your own skill level. And that's really all I have today.
Great job, John. All of those things are spot on and very timely for this time of year. So we appreciate you being with us this morning. And we had a great meeting today, Dave.
We did, no doubt.
Definitely running short on time. So we'll have Steve Welke start to make his way up here. And as he's coming up, I'll highlight a few things. One, any technology challenges, questions, whatever the case may be, we've got Richard and Brienne here on my right that can definitely help you out. And of course, we've got our resident veteran that was present on Wednesday night for our event. So we saw you there looking good. Thank you for being here.
We had an awesome evening for our veterans. Had a great turnout as well. I don't know if you all know it, but about, according to the numbers, we have about 33% of our fleet are veterans. And that's a really great number. And you should give yourselves a round of applause. So those of you that have served, would you please stand up and be recognized? Thank you for your service. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so, I'm in sales, but I'm also in safety. Some of these inspections where we're getting like 72% okay, but the other 28% aren't. That impacts our CSA scores. And I was at a meeting yesterday with a customer down in Florida, a big customer of ours. And as they go through this next bid cycle, which is actually starting today, they use that CSA score as part of how they choose to award business. So it's important. I have a lot of drivers ask, how can I help? How can I help identify or create more loads? Well, don't run by scales. Don't get speeding tickets. Keep your logs current. Don't have accidents. All those things are really, really important. And it's becoming more important as the competition gets a little bit better. Just so you know, we're up about 300 loads week over week. We're feeling the Thanksgiving impact. It's starting to heat up. We've got another good week and a half of running. And I also know that everybody wants to probably get somewhere for Thanksgiving. If we can help you do that, it's terrific. If you choose to stay out and run, we really appreciate it. So thank you very much for all that you do. We're just going to do more of it. We're going to do more of it safely. So I'd like to also thank our vendors back there. Boy, you guys did a great job sharing information today. So thank you for being here every week. Daryl Hopkins, president of our company, he was there Wednesday night. I'll let him, he really delivered a great little message for us all. Daryl, thank you.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to repeat what I said then, but I will tell you, as a company and as a country, we do appreciate our veterans, and we don't say thanks enough. I mean, I think we do maybe a better job than some companies, that's for sure. But I just don't think we can ever say thanks enough. What you guys have done by serving is incredible. So, and I want to echo something Steve just said. I really want to thank our equipment providers too. You know, Dennis was up here, but we have a whole slew of them back there in the corner, and they're also kind of spotted around a few places back here and others. I'm at least not aware of another trucking company in the nation that their vendors show up every week to be here to answer your questions, to give you guidance on things, or to here to support you. Those are incredible partners. And I want to thank them again, just for being great partners with us. It's what makes Prime a great company. You have to have all parts running at the same time. You have to have the best drivers. You have to have the best vendors. You have to have the best support team in-house. You can't just have one component and be the best company. And we are the greatest company, greatest trucking company on the planet. I am convinced of that. And it's because every part is working together. So again, thanks to everyone really, because we all make one great team. So with that, I'll hand it back to Steve.
Thanks, Joe. Well said. Well said. So we got a lot of red here. We want to remember everybody deployed, those that are still serving and not around to enjoy Thanksgiving with their families. We need to think about those folks out there as well. I'd like to bring up Robert Lowe, who really invested in our veterans. And, you know, we started talking about this in our driver advisory board meetings, if you recall, right?
We did. It was, you know, our drivers, as usual, kind of showing us the way to do the right thing. So thank them for that and appreciate their input. Man, when you get you and Daryl up here in one of these microphones, I mean, this meeting could last another 2 hours. You know, I just came over for the free breakfast. That was why I came, but I didn't. You guys talking so long is a bonus. Anyway, appreciate y'all. We're running a little bit behind here. We've got another meeting I got to run off to, but you know, we always want to thank you for the job you do. You know, we thank our vets, we thank our drivers. You're the best folks in the world. Your family here. You deserve respect. You deserve to make some bank, right? Can I have an amen on making some bank? We're getting there, folks. Love you all. God bless you, and please be safe.